very often what the Supreme Court will do when there's an appeal from an appellate court is say, we're just not going to hear the case at all, which is what the special prosecutor Jack Smith was hoping for.
Listen, there was two very well-reasoned, well-thought-out, well-argued decisions below, both from the district court and then the circuit court. And so the Supreme Court certainly could have punted and let those decisions stand and not got involved in the fray here. But they did that, and that is going to dramatically affect the timing of this case, no doubt.
And you agree with me that it's very unlikely now that they'll be able to have a trial before the election?
I think basically impossible, right? I mean, the court, there's got to be briefing on this. There's oral argument, I think set for April 22nd. Then they have to render a decision. All of that, you know, and the entire case is on hold until that threshold question is decided.
And remember, everyone, this was the big federal case that everyone thought had the most likelihood to go to trial, because the other one, in the documents case, is in Florida, where Judge Aileen Cannon has expressed great sympathy for many of the Trump arguments, and most believed that she would never allow the case to go to trial before the election. I still think that's true, which means, think about this, that none of the special counsel Jack Smith's cases are now likely to go to trial at all before the election. So that's the big win for Donald Trump. But also breaking tonight is the loss for him. And it's a big one. A New York appeals court judge rejected an appeal from Trump, who was trying to cut down the amount he has to put up immediately in connection with that $454 million fraud penalty. This would mean that Trump has to put up all of the money. New York Attorney General Letitia James now telling the court that Trump doesn't have the money to pay the full penalty. As a result, she says she will be, quote, forced to expend substantial resources to execute the judgment on defendant's real property and other assets, meaning we are going to take his buildings. Lawyers for the former president asked the appeals court earlier today to accept $100 million in bond until the appeals process is complete. They wrote in a legal filing the exorbitant and punitive amount of the judgment, coupled with an unlawful and unconstitutional blanket prohibition on lending transactions, would make it impossible to secure and post a complete bond. Now remember, Judge Arthur Engoron had ordered Trump to pay nearly $355 million earlier this month after ruling the Trump Organization committed widespread fraud. The total penalties increased around $112,000 in interest every day. The 30-day clock for Trump to come up with the judgment started on February the 23rd. He'll need to post bond in the full amount of the $454 million around March 25th, when jury selection is supposed to start for his criminal trial on the charges related to paying porn star Stormy Daniels hush money. So what happens now? All right, Sarah Krissoff, let me bring you back here. Explain this to us. Why does he have to put up all of this money now?
So this is just a system, a way to secure that he will pay should he be unsuccessful on appeal. So he can either pay an appeal or he can put up a bond to secure the payment while the appeal is pending. And he's asked the court, you know, for some variance from that to hold the monetary judgment against him in abeyance, to stay that until his appeal is decided. The first judge that took that up today said, no, you can't do that. You are going to have to either pay the money judgment or put up that bond. I mean, I think Trump will continue to ask for a stay. He will go up the ladder here and continue to ask the judges to stay this monetary judgment against him. I don't, again, think he'll be successful in doing so, though.
So when does that mean that he would have to put up this full amount?
So right now we have this March 25th date on the calendar that he's either going to have to pay or put up some type of bond. The appellate court, the appellate division here, has stayed some of the other punishments that Judge Engoron imposed here, some of the other sort of more practical punishments related to the operation of the business. So it's a possibility that given the stay of those punishments, Trump may be able to get the bond he needs, although the lawyers are saying he can't do that. It is not available to him at this point.
And just explain to us how we get to that 454 number, right? That sounds much bigger than the initial fraud ruling.
Listen, I think these are all enormous numbers, whether you're talking about in the 300 millions or the 400 millions, but it's essentially interest that is imposed upon the judgment. So there's a system of pre-judgment interest and post-judgment interest, and sort of a number can get very big very quickly with the interest tacked on.
And this is the way that any case like this would be treated? Everyone has to put up all the money once you lose while you're waiting for appeal?
It is standard to have to secure some kind of bond, right? So if you're in a commercial dispute and you lose, there's a verdict against you in a jury trial, then you have to put up some sort of bond to appeal that verdict to the appellate division.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.